And we're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We're speaking with Lyle today from Amplifon. Lyle, let's talk now about hearing aids. So people have hearing loss. They finally, because it never happens like, oh, I'm not hearing very well. Tomorrow I'm going to go and get this checked out. They usually wait a year, 2, 3, and then they come and see you. So they're finally grudgingly admitting that they probably need help in some way, shape, or form. What do you do? What do you say? Tell us what an appointment looks like.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, unfortunately, the average person, even after finding out there is a hearing loss, waits about 7 years before finally making the jump to hearing aids or trying new technology. Isn't
that something?
Yeah.
What a waste of time to spend all that time trying to hear and not being successful.
Yeah. Oh. Well, once again, as I was getting at, it's because it happens slowly over time.
Right.
Our brain thinks that the levels that it's being reduced to are normal, because maybe it drops a little bit of sound each year or a little bit every other year, and we're like, oh no, this is always normal. It's you that's mumbling, or you that can't understand.
My mother did that to us all the time. Yeah. You people are all mumbling. Okay, you're in a room and 10 people are mumbling and you're the only one who isn't.
Yeah, they have to go through that stage of grief, and it takes everyone different times, right? Yep. Different times to get through it, and it's all about us getting that speech back to them. Now, your typical appointment, we perform some questions and answers. So I always sit down with each patient I'm with and sort of get an idea for their lifestyle, see where their biggest troubles are and where they would like to see some solutions, or the solutions I would be able to offer them. We check in their ears to see if they're clean and that everything's looking good physically. Like I said, if there's any physical damage to like the eardrum or anything like that, we can always do a medical referral to do further ENT work. So, surgically, some things can be fixed when it comes to hearing loss. But if everything looks good, we go through the entire hearing test, which I explain as we go.
Right. I just have to stop you for a second with a quick question about earwax, because we did have a listener yesterday who got a hold of me on Facebook and said, can you ask him about earwax? Now seems to be a good time. So you're just looking in someone's ear and you see that it's all clogged with wax. Could that simply be the only thing that's blocking their hearing?
It could be.
Really?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. People come to me, they can't hear. They tell me they can't hear at all, and their loved ones are telling them they can't hear, because once again, sometimes it's the outside influence that lets us know if when we're having trouble. And when I look in their ear, I see the whole ear is sealed up with earwax, and that will, it will stop the sound from conducting to the eardrum. It will stop you from getting any sound. It's like putting your fingers in your ears constantly. And, I'm licensed to fully remove earwax. Okay. So as long as it's soft enough, I can remove it for you. Not a problem at all. The thing about earwax is we all develop it. Every one of us.
Really?
Some people develop a little more than others. It's a defense mechanism to help things from getting things out of your ear. If some sort of foreign object gets in there, or bugs or insects, keep our ear canal.
Nice thought.
Keep our ear canal lubricated. Things like that. And some people just produce more than others, like I said, or sometimes a piece will get stuck on the skin, and then you produce more, and then you produce more and more and more until it's collected and built up in the ear canal.
So it's not that you're unclean or something.
No,
it's just a natural.
Earwax is very healthy and very clean. Yeah, it's just a natural part of the body.
And some people make more of it than others do.
That's it. That's all it is.
And you make more as you get older?
Can happen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Because aging really sucks on all kinds of levels. Your ears actually get bigger. But
the skin in our ear canal grows outward. So like a conveyor belt, it sort of gets rid of the earwax for you.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. But like I said, when it does get stuck on the wall of our ear canal, that's where
it's a bad thing. Yeah. Okay. So in a simple appointment, you say, oh, you have lots of earwax. Let's get rid of that. Then they go, wow, I can hear it. Thanks, Lyle. And away they go. And you never see them again.
I've seen it happen. If it is really built up, of course, we need some oil to soften it up. But then they come back and I can remove it, no problem.
Okay. So as the exam goes on and you realize that the earwax is there, but it's not causing a problem, what's next?
So after the hearing test, we go over the results together.
Okay, but what's involved in the hearing test?
So the hearing test goes through a couple stages. So the first thing is just listening to different beeps and noises over different.
Do you do this in a little box or
in a full? That's right.
in like
Walking
a
me through
sound?
it. Yes, I step them in through a soundproof booth. So there's no outside influence.
Okay.
Getting inside. Then they're wearing tips inside their ear that will seal off more sound from the outside.
Okay.
So it's really just they're hearing these tones at the softest that they can hear, because that's the whole goal of the hearing test. We need to know the absolute quietest you can hear at different pitches or frequency levels where speech and noise takes place. So they're going to listen to different beeps from low pitches, like I said, where the bass and noise takes place, to very, very high frequency sounds like ringing and whistling, more of those high pitched sounds. And every time they hear a sound, they press a button that they're holding, lets me know that they're hearing it.
And are you checking both ears together, one at a time?
We do one at a time. We always isolate the ears. We always want to see if one ear is better than the other.
Okay.
If there is a difference,
and then
if there's anything going on there.
Is it safe to say that you hear better with two ears, which is why you have two ears?
Always, 100%. Two ears always better than one.
Okay.
It lets us know where sound is coming from. Of course, it gives us direction. It helps us with our balance, as balance does also take place within the inner ear. Lets us know what's up, down, left, and right on the movement of fluid and everything like that. So when sound gets suppressed, especially on one side, it can confuse you on not knowing, which direction you're looking at. Things like that.
Is it safe to say that we all have one ear that hears better than the other, or do they hear equally?
No, they're equally.
Oh, neat.
When the nerves die over time through just hearing loss aging, they do tend to go together. That's normal hearing loss over time that we see. There are cases where, it can run through the family, or if someone gets like a hit to the head, something physical like that, one ear can go down faster than the other. And, in a case I do see cases like that. And that's why we want to isolate the ears to really get the true reading of each ear in the hearing test. Yeah.
Okay, so you do the hearing test and they get to come out of the little booth. And does it take a few weeks before you get the results back?
No, I go over the results with them right there in the office.
Right there?
Yep. I explain in great detail, making sure it makes sense and everyone's on the same page. I'll go over it as many times as it takes, but I usually explain it very thoroughly in the first run, giving examples of the real world situations that they gave me. So it pretty much puts in their head, it shows them, oh, this is why, hearing and noise is affecting me. This is why the TV's turned up loud, or I can't hear on the telephone, and things like that.
Okay. And at that point, now you have to start discussing how to fix it.
Yes. If I do see a way that I can help them through hearing aid technology, I will recommend a hearing aid. And I go through the reasons why, and we talk about all the different technology. Now, the good news is hearing aid technology has come a long way.
Yes, it's nowhere near as bulky, that's for
No,
sure.
the big beige bananas are gone, as I used to call them, with the big ear mold in the ear that everyone can see from a mile away. They're very, very small, very sleek. They're digital. They're like modern day computers. So when they're programmed, it's set exactly what you need based on your hearing loss. So it's going to sound still natural, and it's not going to be too loud, because I'm just giving you the sound you were lacking, like that speech cue. So by not raising the noise and just raising the speech, the sound you exactly need, things are going to sound clear. And in those loud situations as well, the sound will cut through that background noise. It won't be blocked off anymore, getting you that clarity and that speech understanding. And they come in a variety of sizes and styles based on your life. If you want something so small that it just lives inside your ear, we can do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a little chip, a microchip kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's made from the ear, maybe a little bigger than a microchip, but yeah, it lives right in the ear canal. Can't really be seen from the outside.
Wow.
There's still the one that goes on top of the ear. It has multiple microphones now. It can connect to computers and phones and stream signals into your ear. And those are also very sleek and very small nowadays.
So complicated, but it's so cool.
Yeah, and I make it very simple.
So you can use your cell phone to manipulate your hearing aids.
Yes, they will pair to cell phones, and you can
turn
control
them
the
up,
volume.
turn them down.
Yeah, you can do certain environments. So if you're in that restaurant that you really like going to and you want to continue going to that restaurant but you're having trouble hearing, you can press a button on your phone or on the hearing aid and it will bring down that environment, that background noise, and just allow you to hear the people you're talking to
Wow.
get rid of all the frustration and confusion. and just make your life easier and have you using your brain less on focusing on what's being said and just listening and keeping your memory sharp and no more stress.
That cool.
Yeah.
But they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. And, I'm not jaded to the fact that hearing aids can be pricey.
Right.
The good thing is at Amplifon, we have a wide variety of pricing. We'll have, any budget you have, we can definitely fit.
Okay.
And it all depends on, they come in different technology levels. So, of course, the higher you go on the hearing aid, the more it will listen to these environments, maybe organize more background noise from speech, things like that. But in terms of the look, if you want a really invisible one, a bigger one connecting to the phone, that's covered over a wide variety of hearing aids. That doesn't affect the price too much.
So when OHIP gives you the $1,000, will that give you a decent hearing aid, $1,000? Not really. Most of the hearing aids seem to be more expensive than that.
Yeah.
For a good one.
Yeah, for a decent hearing aid. You will be adding more money yourself on top of that OHIP. As you covered earlier, we always hope that, OHIP, we want to increase that price because it's important. People take their hearing for granted when you don't suffer from hearing loss. We think of our eyes, we think of our mouth, we never really think of the ears until it's too late. We think it's a luxury or it's not really needed, which is not. So,
yeah, even when you think of things general, we talked about walking, but driving a car. When you're driving, you need to be able to hear. You need to hear if there's an emergency vehicle coming up on the right-hand side. You need to hear what's going on around you. It's important to be able to hear.
Yeah. So many actions are happening around us as we're just walking through the street. Mm-hmm. And, it's our brain, when you have normal hearing, the brain's getting its nutrients, if you will, from sound, keeping it healthy.
Right.
That lets us know what sound's coming from where. Like if I'm talking to you in a loud hallway, there can be a noise coming down the hallway, but we ignore it. We know it's there, but we're good at getting rid of it because we're involved with each other. But when the brain's trying to really focus once again and can't hear all these sounds, it misses out on everything, and you lose awareness as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those sounds may be good sounds, and some of them may be a 2,000-pound horse coming towards you that you probably should be aware of and get out of the way.
100%. 100%. So we're really I'm always really trying to get rid of the stigma of hearing aids. I know that people don't really like them, and there's some sort of negative
connotations, but I think that was more about those big plastic things that were in the ear. Now you don't even see them. On most people, you can't even see them.
And I talk about changing the volume and all that, but honestly, these new ones work on their own. They listen to the environment.
Once you've set them up.
Once I program them, correct. They listen to the environment. They work on their own. They get rid of the sounds you don't need and keep what you do need nice and clear. So you just put it on, forget about it, and live your life and get back to the places you were going to and, get back into your life.
The way you had it.
Yeah, if you are, sort of not going to places maybe because you're not hearing so well or you don't like asking people to repeat or speak up. You don't have to live like that at all.
Right. Because I remember when my mom got hers 2 weeks after we went back for a little tweak, and it was really interesting that she wasn't hearing the S's as well. And she said to you, I don't hear S as well, or some consonants. And so you were able to, on your computer, within a matter of minutes, just fine-tune it so that she could hear those S's. And she was telling me the other day it's working great. So
well, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can. It's a process. When you get a hearing aid, you're going to have to wear it for a few weeks after I do my initial programming. After I set it based on your hearing loss, you wear it in the environments that we talked about when we first met. So if you told me you have trouble hearing at McDonald's, within those first couple weeks, I'm going to want you to go to McDonald's especially, wear the hearing aid. So when you come back, you can give me that feedback and let me know, yes, I can make very pinpoint adjustments. Let's say one situation has been great, hearing on the TV's excellent. When I was in this crowded area, it was still a little loud, I can bring down the background noise or bring up someone's soft speech.
Okay,
so it's all a process.
If you have it in your phone and it's kind of, for those of you who are having a hard time visualizing that you have your controls in your phone, it's sort of like the old stereo where you brought up the screen and it showed you the little levels of the treble and the bass and all that, and you could mess around with it till you found something that was to your liking, whether it was full bass or, I look at Jay when I say that, or a little bit more treble. So you have this ability. So now on your everyday, which is the grocery store, couple of friends, sitting in the backyard, watching TV in the evening, that kind of thing. But you're going to the symphony next week. Would you need to adjust your hearing aid so that the scope of the symphony, where when you're a young person, you can sit there, or when you don't have hearing loss, I shouldn't just say that hearing loss is for old people, but when you don't have hearing loss, you're in the symphony, you're in Roy Thompson Hall, and you look at the flutes and you can hear them through all the other instruments. You look at the timps and you can hear them. Well, you don't have to look at them, they're there. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
And you can isolate the different instruments, and you at the same time can just sit back and let all the instruments be harmonious together and create that sound as well. With a hearing aid, can you do that?
So just like what you were getting at, yes, that's the brain sorting out all the sounds for us, right? So with a hearing aid, what you can do is you can have multiple settings or programs, if you will. So when you go to a theater, you can access your theater mode that I would program for you. And what that does is it sort of opens up the hearing aid, and it'll let all the music flow in. So when I said that hearing aids work automatically, controlling themselves differently, if you're in a loud environment, the sound will go down. If you're watching the TV, the sound will go up. When you go into the theater, it'll open up the microphones that are on the hearing aids fully to let all the music flow in. And it is the job of the computer chip in the hearing aid to organize
allow that
those
to happen.
Sounds. Yes, it does take tweaking sometimes to get music. Music's a tough one for the hearing aid to sort out sometimes. So it takes some back and forth sometimes to get it right, going to the theater. But we can definitely set up a specific program. When you walk into that theater, you press your theater on the hearing aid or on the phone, and then you'll be able to hear the instruments clearly, yes.
Okay. So could you say, I hate screeching trumpets. Please don't ever let me hear that? And just take them right out of the orchestra? Probably not.
No.
Darn.
You're still gonna hear the sounds that we all hear,
right?
Because that's what we need, right?
Okay, but it is quite a process then, and sometimes people have to go back a number of times before it becomes quite right. It's also hard, I think, for people to describe to you what they hear.
Yes.
It's like trying to see what you see. Well, I see the letters on that board, but do you see them clearly? Is this better or that better? You know, that's what you do when you go to the eye doctor. They put a lens in front of your face. Which do you prefer? A, 1 or 2, 2 or 3. And you get all these choices that help them narrow down what kind of vision correction you need. But with hearing aids, it doesn't seem to be quite that simple.
No, it's not as objective, unfortunately. So yes, we rely on the hearing test to get the lowest levels you can hear based on different noise and speech, different pitches, right? Which does give us a good idea of where we need to increase the sound for you. But yeah, it is all about the user. So it's my job when I first meet someone to sit down with them and open them up as much as possible. I ask too many. Sometimes I pry, but it's my job to do so. So I really need to get to the bottom of their lifestyle, and it's my job to interpret what they're telling me. Over lots of speaking with them, and I ask many questions to get to the bottom of their lifestyle and where their biggest problems are. Sometimes
hearing loss is convenient, Not to mention the fact that when I'll tell my husband to go and rake the lawn, he's, I can't hear you.
Yes,
that's selective hearing.
I can help you hear, but not what to hear. Yes.
But there are things like dripping taps. I hear alarms, like somebody's cell phone will be going beep, beep, beep. He doesn't hear it. I hear it perfectly well, and it's driving me crazy. We need to find the source of that beeping, but he can't hear it at all, which I think is sometimes quite blissful.
Yeah, but we want to keep that brain active. It's important to always be hearing all these sounds, and to know what's going on and just be aware of everything.
Okay, Jay, we have to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up our conversation with Lyle. We have a couple of more questions for you, so do stay tuned because there's more to come here on Fresh Waves. We'll be right back.
We're taking strides to make a difference, to show we care. Strides for change.
In communities across this country, Mad Canada hosts Strides for Change, an annual 5K walkathon and wheelchair event. Help raise awareness to stop impaired driving and raise funds to support the victims of this violent crime. So join the fun. Together, we can make a change.
We're taking strides to make a difference. Strides for change.
Visit stridesforchange.ca.
Hi folks, Kim Mitchell here. You know, however you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. If you do have any questions for Lyle after the show, or you're listening to this on Sunday or on the podcast, just get a hold of us on our Facebook page, or, drop me an email, bren@freshwaves.ca, which is easy if you're on the website, because you just, use my name and the name of the website, and ask us the questions, and we will definitely get them to Lyle, and he'll respond. One thing that I can honestly say about Lyle and most of my guests is that we find these people because they're people. They like to help. It's not only their job, but it's just who they are. So I'm sure Lyle will be able, he already said he would answer all of the questions that anyone has when the show is over, or if you're listening to the podcast. So Lyle, let's talk. We talked about how hearing aids are not as obvious as they
Not
once
as intrusive,
were.
yes.
However, I have seen a few, one on the weekend, where it's a device in the ear and then it seems to have something that attaches to the side of the head. Is that something completely different again?
Yeah, that was a cochlear implant.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like that's done if someone is born deaf, right? Or becomes deaf either through infection or anything viral like that. That's through surgery, and they go right into the nerve, the inner ear, and it sends the signal to help them hear. Me being a hearing instrument specialist, that's, I don't deal, that's more surgical, more with the ENTs and
but
things
that's
like
not
that.
a hearing aid per se.
No.
That's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the hearing aids that you prescribe and that are most used are those non-invasive looking things that go behind people's ears with a little tiny wire that goes in and
little
just sits
wire,
inside the
that's
ear.
the speaker, goes right into the ear canal, and they come in many different, even the piece that's in the ear comes in different sizes and shapes to make it as comfortable as possible. Most people don't even feel them in the ears anymore. I hear stories of people jumping into the showers or going to sleep with them because they even forget they're wearing them. So it
Does
just
it
shows
hurt
how
you to sleep with them?
I would say if you ever out, because one, it would be noisy. You'd probably be hearing your pillow rustle a little more. But these people wear their hearing aids, so they're really liking them, and they're programmed perfectly for them. So it's not that it's too noisy. But you do want the ear to breathe overnight, right?
Right.
To get rid of that earwax that builds up, as I told you about. And just, to let air in there and let it breathe.
Okay, so it's a good idea to take them off at night then.
At night, or they're not waterproof, so in the shower.
But what about
things
when
like
you're
that.
home and you're just not out in the world? You still want to wear them or not?
Yes, I get this question a lot. I'll always be the one to say wear your hearing aids all day. I want you to be hearing like the rest of us, even if it sounds you think that we don't need to hear, like the refrigerator humming or the air conditioning on or your footsteps, things like that. Always wear them. Keep the brain stimulated. On a basic term, I guess I like to say, is sound are like nutrients for the brain. The brain's a muscle. It needs its exercise, and sound will keep it active. They do say the longer you go without diagnosing hearing loss, unfortunately, you can suffer from dementia, and the worse it can get the longer you go without getting hearing aids.
I've also heard that if you don't wear your hearing aids, your brain forgets how to listen, to put it in a real layman's terms. Is that really a thing?
Yeah, because you get so used to not hearing the sounds. Once again, it shuts down. It's a cliche to say if you don't use it, you lose it. But it does happen. And you get so used to just, once again, it becomes a habit to say, what? Pardon me? Or I see people, they hear very well with their new hearing aids, and it still takes them a long period of time to stop asking people to repeat because they're just so used to it.
Right.
And the brain forgot to just listen and then just store things in the memory and remember. They're just so used to focusing and using that power on what's being said.
It's really interesting. It's a fascinating field. I mean, it's kind of interesting how you got into it from doing sound production.
Yeah.
Because sound production is sort of an external hearing mechanism.
Yeah.
Right? And you hear people doing sound checks, and I know it drives the general audience crazy. Check, check, check 1, check 2. How's this sounding? Is that okay? But it makes a huge difference when the band starts playing or when the person starts their TED Talk or their speech. Because if the microphone isn't set up properly, you don't hear it properly. So I guess it's the same with your hearing aid.
It's the same thing. So EQing a microphone is just like balancing or EQing the hearing aid. Yeah, with frequencies from noise and bass and lower pitches to the high frequency, softer sounds and the speech and the clarity. And yeah, it's all about that balance. It's all about absorbing all these sounds around us. And yeah, keeping your brain
and being
in
able
check.
to listen. And it is a very big brain thing, I know, because when you listen to certain people talk, even if their information is good, if their voice, we used to have a broadcaster here and she was wonderful. Oh my goodness. And I won't say her name, but she said, I sound like Mickey Mouse on acid. She had a really high pitched voice, or she still has. And it's really, really high. And it's got a really odd quality to it. But it was wonderful because it was always happy.
Yeah.
Because it was high. And there's another lady I know who is just the most incredible facilitator for meditation because her voice is deep. She has a very deep female voice, and it just resonates at such a relaxing and calming level. I mean, you know, the screechy noises, a siren sounds like it does on purpose.
Yes.
Right?
100, yeah, to grab our attention from everywhere, from far distances, and we need to hear all these sounds.
Right.
And it's important for, you know, even if you feel like, oh, you know, I don't hear this, but it's not so important, but behind the scenes it is. And you want to...
Yeah, especially if you want your brain to be fully able to listen
functioning
to
at
all
full
of those
capacity.
things.
Yep.
So that when you do go to the symphony, you can hear everything.
Yeah.
Not just the timps, as nice as they are, or the deep bass or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Lyle, when we get questions, we'll fire them through to you. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to do this again because I think it's a message that people need to hear. Ha 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 ha. Okay, no pun intended. But they do. It's a message that people need to acknowledge that they need to hear.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And it'd be my pleasure to answer questions, and I would absolutely love to come back.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I hope you heard that. If you didn't hear this last hour, or some of the consonants weren't as clear as they can be, it's not our equipment. It may be your ears. Okay, it might be our equipment too. But it's worth going over to Amplifon and having a bit of a check and seeing how you hear. That doesn't make any sense. Checking out how you hear so that you can hear better and clearer, and that your brain stays active and functioning, and that you stay connected with the world around you. Thanks again, Lyle. You're listening to Fresh Waves, a Whistle FM production. In the second hour, we're going to be speaking with Claudio Popa about cybersecurity. Stay tuned.